Welcome to Difficult Conversation Africa broadcast. I present to you the host, Yinka Olaito.
Welcome to Difficult Conversation Africa podcast. My name is Yinka Olaito, a platform where we raise conversation that many are afraid to raise, a platform that is focused on development across Africa countries, where our desire is to see an African and Nigeria that allows all the possibilities and potentials to be used by everyone. In today's episode, we'll be looking at Niger Delta region in Nigeria, a bride or a bastard. And as usual, I will give you a background of this before I introduce my guest. Niger Delta region comprises about 9 states and is oil and gas rich region, which is located in the southern Nigeria, covering 9 states, as I've said. The economy is dominated by oil and gas. Over 80% of Nigeria's foreign exchange and income from that region. Can you imagine? The region has long been plagued by a complex mix of socio-economic, environmental, and political issues. And a region that should be a bride and darling of everyone, that contributes so much to the Nigerian economy, is being robbed of its potential and its beauty because of the challenges that the region faces. In this episode, with the team Niger Delta region in Nigeria, a bride or bastard, I will be speaking with Bureau Chief of the Guardian newspaper, South Bureau Chief. She is a frontline journalist, multimedia journalist, award-winning journalist, and who had been covering Niger Delta for almost 15-20 years now. And our passion for the region had been seen on her coverage, all the issues that she covers. She's dedicated to that region. And sometimes you can see how her feelings and how she feels and the need for the region to be better positioned as a journalist in some of her work. So, I will, like I said, Mrs. Ann Godwin is my guest today. She's a coach, a media mentor. She's also the CEO of Step Up Women, a platform through which she empower women in journalism within the South region as part of our contribution. Mrs. Ann Godwin, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mr. Inka. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, and thank you for the work you are doing, and you have done. Thank you for the passion for the Niger Delta region progress. Maybe because you belong to the space, everybody who is a true son and daughter of any region, we want the best for it. And we want to say thank you for always holding on to power, asking for accountability in the Niger Delta region. So we go to the first question. Having covered the region for such a long time, what is your present assessment of Niger Delta region in Nigeria?
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Aika, for this opportunity to feature in difficult conversations. And I must say that it's been a very amazing experience and wonderful experience to have covered the Niger Delta region, which everyone knows as a very sensitive region for over a decade. But with what I've seen so far is not very impressive. The stories, yet we are yet to see the desired change in Niger Delta region. I must say that despite over 15 trillion naira that have been received by the states in the region, and recent statistics by the MBS, that the Niger Delta states is among the 5 states that received the largest volume of money from the federal government, 10.3 trillion naira recently between January to May 2024. When you look at the master's students, that is postgraduate, PhD scholars and all that, a lot of scholars, both national and international, have come to the region to study about, the devastation, the oil pollution, the environmental challenges in the region. But it's quite it's quite amazing that despite these studies and the research from the literature, there hasn't been tangible a positive impact. And I begin to, dig in deep to find out the causes of this. I realized that this has been as a result of, self-serving captors. The region has been so much, taken advantage by self-serving captors. And who are these self-serving captors? We have the political merchants. We have the governors from the region. From time to time, for instance, the South Governors Forum, from time to time, they gather together, especially during Januaries. They churn out in very amazing resolution. They come up with mouth-watering resolution that raises the hopes of the people. But at the end of this resolution, nothing happens. There is no follow-up. There is no tangible follow-up. There is no implementations of these resolutions. There is no, impact from this resolution. So this keep happening from time to time. They keep taking advantage of the region, of the vulnerability of the region. We also have what we call the economic opportunists, availability in the region. Sometimes they write, proposals to carry out one or two projects targeted to better the lives of the people in the region. But at the end of the day, you see them either using just 10% or minimal percent of these proposals, to carry out one or two projects. But the rest will be pocketed conflict entrepreneurs. They use the conflict situation in the region to enrich themselves. They are feasting on the vulnerability of the region, and that is a very big challenge we are having today. And despite of all this, you see that the region is still facing some, compound frustrations. The area is still, the environment is still polluted. There is no adequate cleanup going on, even though a lot of people have been publishing that cleanups are going on, but there is no adequate cleanup going on in the area. The farmlands are polluted. The water where the people get their livelihoods, they are more of the riverine areas. They are still polluted. So it is a worrisome situation.
Thank you, ma. Thank you, ma. You've raised a lot of issues that we will want you to speak into one by one. I can see your passion and I can see your pain. It's very obvious that every reasonable person will speak along this line that you are speaking, because the Niger region is very, very rich. According to what you have just shared, the NBS, which is Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, is such an alarming thing to hear or to listen to how much had been spent or had been that they've gained, the region has gained from national treasury, and yet the commensurable impact that one is looking for is not there. But of all the things that you've shared, let's begin to take them one by one. And I will look at the governance. A way to assess progress is to measure the level of transparency in governance and how this affects sustainable development. What will your take be on this? Has the governance in that area be transparent? I know that you have shared a little. What is your take on the level of transparency of the opportunists, economists, and all of them that you have mentioned?
All right, thank you very much. Yes, I must say that the governance in the states in Niger Delta region have not been quite transparent. We've not seen it, except the recent, previous administrations have not been quite transparent, though to some certain levels. And we are seeing a little from that of the suspended Governor Similaye Fubara. Before, he just did about 1.5 years before he was suspended. But we are hoping that as the call has gone on, he will be reinstated. Let us see actually what he has in his pocket. But it's quite discouraging that despite all these funds that have been released or churned out for the improvement of the Niger Delta region, these funds are supposed to serve as a catalyst, to bring development in the region, to bring a shift of narrative from what we used to see. But I must say that, the development is still quite low. From my latest findings, there is no good industrialization in the region that could engage the youth, that could provide jobs for the teeming youth. For instance, here in Rivers State, we have what we call the tech up to improve the digital skills of the youths. The center is opposite the pleasure park in Rivers State, Port Harcourt. But as we speak today, my last check, that center is still not functional. That center is still not active. In fact, last time I checked, it was being used for events. The people now rent it to carry out events, and this is disheartening. It's quite heartbreaking. We are at the jet age. The youths we are now at the digital age. The youths we have these days they are craving for harnessing of their skills. They already have these skills. It's inbuilt in them. They are looking for centers like that to harness it. She is the one that helped to guide me in some of the digital work I do. So you can see that the things we have these days, the use of these days are really, they are ready for the arts, but that industrializations are not there. So it's quite a worrisome situation. Money that is flowing in the region, paradoxically, is not reflecting completely in the lives of the people. The people, we still, they are plagued with unemployment. For instance, if such centers and other centers we have, I'm aware of the factory center in Cross River State is in Comatose. A lot of factory, even the factory in Delta State is also not functional. So these are some of the issues that need adequate attention. The region is still plagued with unemployment, is still plagued with poverty, and a lot of things have been going on. And you agree with me that this type of harsh environment, despite the money that have been, released to the region, it can create a platform for unrest. It can create a platform for conflict, and it can create a platform for instability. So these are some of the major concerns. The government in the region need to rise up to their responsibilities. It's very, very important.
Thank you for this. And like I said, I'm happy that you are honest in your assessment. And having covered the region for not less than a decade, you've seen a lot. Now, the next question is, you have done a lot of media report on environmental degradation, cleaning up, as well as political dialogue, creating inclusive governance that will lead to a sustainable development in the region. What are the milestones that you will be happy that, okay, in the midst of all the mess, these are the changes that I'm happy about with regards to the changes that has come out of my media reports?
All right. Yes, it's quite a good question. I must say that journalism is not just a thing you go in for. It must be a sense of responsibility. And journalism these days, we must go beyond the normal reporting and the usual reporting. We have embraced the digital skill, and investigative journalism is key because it's unravels the rot in the system, and it's something that you keep doing until something happens. So I have done quite a lot of work, irrespective of the challenges and the situation in the region. One of the work I've done so far that is quite remarkable is the suit menace. Some of you that monitored the region closely, you are aware of the suit Minas that started in 2016. It
Yes,
went on
yes.
till 2023, late 2023 and 2024. It was quite a very massive environmental plague in the region that you know, a kind of scared investors. Even some persons in the region relocated because of that environmental plague. So I started reporting about that plague from 2016. I stayed on the story. I was, you know, churning out stories from time to time. I monitor, I do follow up, and I kept on this story. I stayed on it. You know, one thing that distinguishes a journalist is not just reporting or breaking a news, but staying on the story, reporting until something happens. That is what we call rush. So I stayed on that story, and when the former governor, Nyesom Wike, was in government, I'm sure sometimes some of these governments, they do listen. Yes, they read us. You think they don't, they do. So I stayed on that story, and with protests and campaigns from the masses, from residents, he set up what he called the technical committee on suits. And that committee was able to delve into further investigations, and they make their findings out, and they also made some recommendations. I must say that some of the recommendations of this committee has been implemented, and today as I speak, it is a good news that the suit menace has reduced. Those that live in Port Harcourt will certainly attest to this. And I've also done a follow-up report to tell the public that, look, this thing we've been reporting since 2016, there is a change of narrative. So that's one. Second, I've also done reports on water scarcity in Ogoni land. We all know the deplorable situation in Ogoni land, the condition, despite lack the environmental pollution and all that. The area lack water. So I was on that story, especially during the COVID-19 pandemic. I reported vehemently on that story when also the federal government released funds to HYPREP. So that is the agency that is overseeing the cleanup of Ogoni land. I monitored and I put pressure. My report put pressure on HYPREP, and between that period, I think they inaugurated the water scheme in Ogoni land. So as I speak today, some of these my stories are online. If you Google it, you see online. You see the main story, you see the follow-up stories, and you see the end part of the story. So I ensure that I document my story. I do the main story, the follow-up, and the impact, and I keep staying on the story. So today, as I speak, there is water scheme in Ogoni land, though not all the Ogonis could access this water, but at a level, some of the people, residents of Ogoni, are able to access the water supply. So I'm glad that journalism is indeed making impact. Not just that, there are quite a lot, even the East-West road that is ongoing. I have been on that story for quite, more than 6-7 years, I have been reporting on that East-West road, especially the Eleme-One axis of the East-West road. Eleme-One axis of the East-West road is a very significant route that gives access to the nation's access. It leads to the oil and gas free zone. Some of you that are aware of the oil and gas free zone is a zone that hosts more than 300 oil and gas companies. And this is a major resource center, for the nation. So I keep highlighting the importance of this road. And when the Minister of Works came in, that is Dave Omahi, I did another follow-up report about that road. And I also highlighted the need that Dave Omahi, being a very renowned engineer that we know of, I queried in that my story, can he really make engineering works? And excitedly, 2 weeks after that report, the federal government, through the Ministry of Works, Dave Omahi, he awarded contracts and re-awarded the road, and contracts, the contractors were mobilized back to site. As I speak today, works are going on the road. The road is progressing, but I wasn't quite happy when there was premature inauguration or premature commissioning of that road last week. Yeah, the federal government commissioned the road, so they should have waited until the road was properly, done and implemented.
I must commend your work because see, that's why journalists, investigative journalists, are really important in the scheme of things. Um, if you have not kept at it, the situation will still have remained the same. So journalists should be happy that at least little by little they are bringing the changes by holding the powers accountable. I also know that you've done a lot of a lot of media coverage around because of your passion for universal health coverage. I knew of a story that you did maybe last year about a girl or somebody in the hospital who got the left hand of the thing and situation, and you were persistent on that story until that individual got the what is deserved as an individual. As your standing ground, and I know that you face a lot of intimidation, which most investigative journalists always face. How do you handle intimidation, and did that experience strengthen you to do more, or it created a level of fear in your heart?
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Yinka. I said it earlier that journalists need to be courageous. It's a calling. It's not just a duty or a professional routine that you just do. When you see it as a calling, you go with it. You go with passion. Yes, and I would say that what is really making much impact is investigative journalism. That is the aspect that you dig and you continue to dig until there is a change, or there is a positive shift. Now, how do you start it? You investigative journalists, you take advantage of certain opportunities or certain disadvantaged opportunities. I did that story because I went to the hospital to visit a relative that was sick. And less than 5 minutes, I stayed in the hospital. That is the ICU. What I saw was quite nauseating. It was quite disheartening. That was when the journey started. I decided, I went back to the house. I couldn't sleep for like 3 days. I was reminiscing over what I saw in the hospital and what the people were going through. So I decided to delve into the story. And that story, it took me like 3 months, to carry out that report. So journalists, especially investigative journalists, you need to be patient. You need to work hard. People say you work smart these days. No. For you to succeed in the career, you must work hard and you must work smart. You don't replace hard work with smart work. You must work hard and you must be patient. So I stayed on that story. When I started, it's quite a long story. I prepared myself to fit into the situation. I dressed as if I was sick or I was taking care of the sick people. So when I went into the hospital, more things was unveiling day by day on daily basis. And I was on it. I was, trying to get all my evidences, trying to get, I have all my gadgets, my midgets and all that. So I need empirical evidence, evidential proofs to substantiate what I have, gathered. So I stayed on that story and I was on it. At a time, the patients, that is some of the people that I was, doing that report to discharge my civic responsibility. They got worried for me. They were a bit discouraged. They said, "Madam, you've been coming here for almost 3 months. Aren't you tired? What is it? Nobody is paying you this and that." I said, "No, it is for a people." So I stayed on that story. And luckily, to cut the story short, is a long one. The story was published. But that is where courage comes in. When you have all this your proof, you don't need to be, you don't need to be shaken. Nothing shakes you. So when the story was published, the hospital management, especially the nurses, they went on air and debunked the story. And declared that I was damaging their image and threatened, litigation. And some journalists, that is why I said journalists need training and retraining from time to time. Some journalists received money also, and they carried the only aspect of the nurses and the hospital management. They carried that aspect of the story. They didn't bother to come to, get my own part of the story or that of the patients in the hospital. Though I must emphasize here that there are also some courageous journalists that can stand with you in times like that. So I had some courageous journalists that also stood to defend. Some of them went further to dig deep from the hospital. So it keeps going on for 2 weeks. Port Harcourt was saturated with the story. My name was everywhere, my management and all that. But I wasn't, moved, because I know I have all that. I had all my evidences. So, but one of the challenges I had was at the break, because that moment it's either I defend my work and get, the shining star, or I'm not able to defend my work and that will collapse all the jobs I've been doing. So at that peak time, some of my midgets, my phone specifically got lost. It was stolen, and I had some of my documents, some of my evidences in that phone, and I was troubled, but I had that confidence, because I was able to move some of my files, some of my evidences to my email. That's why I said training is necessary. It's one of the trainings that Shoenka Center for Investigative Journalism organized, that one of the facilitators, told us that sometimes don't rely on your gadgets, you should move them, to other systems and all that. So that was my saving grace. So NUJ in Rivers State called, to hear from both sides. And at that meeting, that was when I started, bringing out my evidences. I brought out all the empirical evidential proofs I had about that report. And it was in that meeting that the management of the hospital calmed down, and they apologized for, declaring that my report
pushing a negative narrative about you.
Yes, it was in that meeting that they acknowledged the importance of journalism, the importance of journalists in the society. So the importance of media reports. So they acknowledged it, and it was in that meeting that we confirmed that after 2 weeks after my report, federal government moved in, a project. Don't forget that my report was about oxygen. How oxygen we are being the caregivers extort patients from extort oxygen from patients and all that. There was diversion, there was theft, a lot of issues that I reported there. So it was in that meeting that the hospital management acknowledged that 2 weeks after my report, the federal government came in and completed 4 oxygen manifold plants. And that plant, as I speak today, it is able to feed at least 100 beds, and it will not feed oxygen directly. I highlighted the solution, investigative report. We don't just report, but we also profile solution. We make recommendation. That is solution journalism. So they adopted the strategy I recommended in my report. And today, at least, that manifold plant is a testimonial in that hospital. And the report I did.
Because of our time, let's quickly, because we have a maximum time we're supposed to use. Inadequate revenue retribution and oil bunkering has positioned Niger Delta region as a bastard to be looted and to be exploited. And some of the things that you have shared in your report challenge some of these. What do you see, and how has your report changed anything in that area? And maybe at the same time you look at speak to this question together because of time. If Niger Delta should witness development, economic diversification, and empowerment, education, and human capital quality healthcare service, good security, and should be top priority. Now, how do we merge this? And what are your thoughts? What will you advise?
Okay, I would say that it's very, very important that the leaders of Niger Delta region, especially the political leaders, the governments, the governors, they start to, be intentional about, bringing the much desired change in the region. Niger Delta region is so blessed and is so endowed with resources that ought to, speed up development and attract more investors and a lot of things to the region. But sadly, it has not been so. For instance, from my checks, some of the government in the region have not been able to meet up with the sustainable development goal. You are aware that we moved from the Millennium Development Goal to Sustainable Development Goal. And this Sustainable Development Goal, we have about like 5 years to go. It was signed up by Nigeria government in 2015, and we just have about 5 years to go. This is 2025. It will be ending in 2030. So there is much to do. We have a lot of creeks in the region. We have a lot of tourist centers in the region that are unharnessed. They should start harnessing some of these areas. For instance, most of our leaders travel to, diaspora, they travel outside countries and all that. They see a lot of things, there. They see a lot of development. Why don't they bring these things back? For instance, the United Arab Emirates, it has a lot of desert. I've been there before. But they have converted almost 80% of the desert to what economic viable things. The farm now, they have converted desert to great farming explorer. They have explored the area. They have converted it. They made billions of dollars from that, desert alone. So a lot of things are going on outside the country that our leaders can go there, see and emulate and bring it back home. So I think it's high time for our leaders. Began to invest in the creeks. We have a lot of waters that have not been, harnessed. We have a lot of creeks. They can convert these creeks to, they can convert it to tourist centers. Investors can come in. That alone can attract investments. They can begin to convert the rivers, make it to be more viable.
Can you speak to that? How can they do? Because security is vital to all these to draw attention of the investors. What are your thoughts and what will you advise the government?
Security challenges is very key to investment, to advancing investment in any state, in any region. I think one of the causes of insecurity in the region is still this issue of unemployment, the issue of marginalization, the issue of political merchants. A lot of things that are accrued to the region. When it comes in, you see the few, cabals, they take advantage of it, and some of these youths are aggrieved. They are not happy. Some of them, now started what, you see as kidnapping and all that. Some of them are aggrieved, some of them are not comfortable with what is going on. So I think the leaders, the state government in the region need to be intentional about being transparent in their leadership. What they get, they should bring to the round table. There is also need for what? Dialogue. Be transparent. Tell the people what you get. Transparency is one of the key things that, saves an organization or a state of any region from unrest. Transparency, when in tone with you, but when you are not transparent, there will be reservations, there will be grief, there will be agitations, there will be protests. So the leaders should begin to be committed into maximizing the revenues that they receive from the region. They should be able to set up in the industries. As I said earlier, there is no industrialization in the region. There is need for them to begin to set up industries, begin to create room for employment. Because when the youth are engaged, they will be out of the street. When the youth are engaged, you see the youth, they have time to go to their work morning, in the night they return. They will not have time to go for kidnapping. There is also need for training, reorientation, awareness creation, to educate the youth, to enlighten the youth about the disadvantages of getting money quick. We are aware of the quick way of getting money. That is the syndrome of quick money these days. There should be a platform to discourage the youth from such, menace that is cropping up. There is also need for.
I want to say thank you. I'm sure we'll have part two of this because this is an interesting but difficult conversation indeed. And like a journalist, you've really, really come out strong on what it is and what should be. We just hope that government at different levels will act. You have been very honest and transparent and open in your in the insightful conversation that you have had. I want to say thank you once again. Thank you for the part that you are playing with the Step Up Women initiative that you set up. At least it's part of your contribution to the development of human resources and professionalism in the area. Thank you once again. And to all our listeners, I want to say thank you once again for the opportunity. Thank you for always getting back to us. And thank you for always being there for us. Please follow us on all our platforms, X, LinkedIn, and Instagram. More importantly, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Until next time, thank you for the opportunity and bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. For inquiry, please send an email to info@difficultconversationafrica.org. Telephone 0809 3160 591. Please follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Difficult Conversation Africa. See you soon.